Here's the deal. Sales isn't about pushing harder, talking better, or flooding inboxes. That's noise, not strategy. Real business development? It's about presence, precision, and knowing exactly how the room feels before you open your mouth. Jake Stahl, author of Own the Room, How to Communicate to Be Seen, Heard, and Respected, has spent over 30 years training teams across 6 countries and 47 states, teaching solopreneurs how to turn conversations into conversion. Known as the mind mechanic, people who have been trained by him say he has the uncanny ability to break down human behavior and rebuild it into real, repeatable influence. This is where communication becomes your unfair advantage. Welcome to Own the Room with Jake Stahl.
Welcome back, everyone. And I got to tell you, my job is the best in the world. I get to talk to the coolest people everywhere, all across the country. And today, I am talking with Lisa Snow. And Lisa, I'm so excited to have you. Lisa is a speaker, employee wellness provider, and certified personal trainer. And she's the founder and sales director of On the Mend Wellness and has been doing that for 17 years. Now, listen, I love to work out and I'm a nutrition guy, but you're certified by the American Council on Exercise, National Strength and Conditioning Association, the National Personal Training Institute, and more. So, Lisa, I got to tell you, I feel a little small in my conditioning compared to you. So welcome to the show.
It's just that I've spent way too much money on school. How about you?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I didn't take school seriously all the time, so I'm glad one of the two of us did. So, Lisa, thank you for being here. I am not sure there's a better time to have a wellness expert on the show than right now. Lisa, before we get too deep into it, talk a little bit about what On the Mend Wellness does, and especially talk about your Zoom employee wellness programs.
Yes, 2 sides to the business. We do wellness programs for companies that are remote or hybrid or have distributed teams that don't get to spend a lot of time together. And then we do a lot of one-on-one coaching with busy executives and entrepreneurs around massage therapy, yoga, personal training, nutrition coaching, etc. Corporate side, some of the challenges owners and employees are facing are really wild.
I'll bet.
Do a lot of national networking, so I'm talking to people in different parts of the country, different size teams. But this is December 2025. We're still talking to people who say, I'm fully remote. I haven't seen my coworkers since 2019.
Yeah.
We are still hearing from folks who say, I'm hybrid. I'm back in the office 3 or 4 days a week. When I get there, most of what I do, Zooms with customers, because the customers don't come in anymore.
Yeah.
This is the convenience of
Yep.
being on Zoom for the client. And in a larger company, there might be a more substantial budget to send people to a retreat or an offsite or bring everyone to headquarters for the holidays. In smaller teams, there are still people who say, I work at the flagship location. Even though we're in a tiny business, we're in dozens of states. I've never physically met my out-of-state coworkers.
Yeah.
So that leads to huge challenges with retention and the money that gets spent and wasted on turnover. It's a huge challenge for employee engagement. Leaders are going through a lot.
Yeah, it's a hard time. And I agree with you. I run into a lot of people who are having trouble retaining people because it's hard to keep a cohesive team when they're at 8 different spots in the country or even out of the country for that matter.
It is. And you have an even broader client base than we do. What are the top 2 or 3 drivers of turnover that you constantly see? Whether it's with friends, clients, in your network, whatever.
People feel disconnected is a big one. They feel as though if they're not live with somebody, then it's just not a cohesive unit. And the second piece is managers are decent at managing people, but when you add in the fact that none of them are close by, you can't just walk into their office, right? It adds in a whole new layer. Lisa, how do we cope with things like this?
Finding ways for your staff to spend quality time together is so important. Isn't the entire solution to that, but it's one big puzzle piece. So if we run a chair stretch class, we're not going to have people sit in silence, pretend to breathe, actually scrolling Instagram. We really want on unmuted group discussion in the big room, breakout rooms, discussion prompts. This is not a CrossFit class where we're going to be sweating, we're going to be out of breath, we're going to need a shower after. This is like, we're sitting in our chair, rolling our shoulders out. We can talk while we're doing that. We can get to know each other again. And a lunch and learn is an even bigger opportunity because there you get group brainstorming about topics other than work. Now, could you just put them all in a room and have them brainstorm a client problem? Absolutely. Could you do that without touching a wellness topic? But when you get a group of people together and they say, I'm at my desk 13 hours. I don't have time to cook healthy meals.
Yeah.
My kids hate vegetables. How are other CFOs tackling that? Or how are other attorneys tackling that? There's so much peer support that happens. So people feel like they belong at the company. They feel like they belong to the team. And they get all these great ideas. They don't need to hear what some magazine article says will work for the average person that works 40 hours a week. They need to hear from other people who are in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're making it work, right? You're in shape, you're active, you care about all this stuff. You don't want tips geared towards a 19-year-old college kid. You want to
For
talk
sure.
to other business owners. You want to talk to other executives about how they're keeping the balls in the air.
So, Lisa, let's talk about that for a second. How are people keeping the balls in the air? So let's say you have that person like me, remote, you get to your desk at 7 a.m., you leave your desk at 7 or 8 p.m. The difference between 7 a.m. and 7 or 8 p.m. is maybe getting up to go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times, maybe throwing in a load of laundry, but it doesn't include a healthy lunch. It doesn't include exercise. I get up at 6 a.m. to do my workout routine. So, Lisa, how are people doing it? Give us some advice. Help us out, Lisa.
See, part of it is working with your body clock, not against it. So if you're a
Okay.
morning person and you're trying to work out at night, by the time you get there, you're going to be so dead, you're going to get nothing out of it.
Right.
On the other hand, if you are naturally a night owl and you are struggling to be awake and conscious for your first meeting, and then the personal trainer or the doctor or the nutritionist or whoever says, you should get up at 5 a.m. and work out, you're like, my call started at 8:30. I am up at 7:30. I am barely alive when I dial in.
Yeah.
That's going to be demotivating. So figuring out when in their day is good. With some very intense jobs, you have no control over your schedule, so this wouldn't work. But for an entrepreneur who has a little more control over their schedule, the time that people forget about is the dead zone. It's the 3 or 4 p.m.
Wait, I have control over my schedule?
I don't know. I thought I would, and then I realized the clients controlled my schedule, so I'm gonna defer that one to you. But for the folks who do, if you're
Yeah.
the person who gets sleepy at 2, 3, 4 p.m. every day, part of that is some nutrition changes that we might want to go in and tweak. But part of it is, what if you use that time to go take a walk? What if you use that time to go to the gym? Because if you're not going to be productive anyway, you're not taking time away from work. So that's something to consider. If you're a leader, you're a business owner, you're an HR leader, you're looking for when to run a program, a lot of times lunchtime or a little before lunchtime is not a bad idea. So like 11, 12, you're not going to get people to stay after work to do cardio or a chair yoga class or something. It's got to be baked into their day.
So I think you brought up an interesting point about going for a walk. I think a lot of people have this misconception that if I'm an exercise boy, I need to exercise. And they don't always equate a walk as part of an exercise routine. Have you found that to be the case?
People massively overlook walking, and they think it's a beginner activity, and they think if they are strong enough to go to a spin class or go to a yoga class, that therefore walking is too easy. Let me tell you, elite athletes walk. Competitive bodybuilders walk as part of their plan, not like I'm
Really?
walking to work, like structured, I'm getting X amount of steps. So, especially from the standpoint of somebody who has a small apartment. Again, we have clients all over the country, friends all over the country, but this is the New York City area. You could be a broke college kid or you could be a millionaire CEO. They're both in a 400 square foot apartment. So let's be real. If that's your situation, getting out of the building is really important. Taking a walk, even if you have a home gym that you love, maybe once a week you go out and do something else. Go swim laps at the pool, go take a yoga class at a studio, something you couldn't do in your house.
So, Lisa, let's look at the other side of wellness as well. And I'm sure there's many sides, but I'm parsing it out between body and brain. So let's talk about the brain side. We get so caught up in cognitive overload during a workday. Suggestions on how to wind down that isn't binge watching Netflix or sitting playing Candy Crush for 2 hours, or are those good options?
I can't tell people not to binge watch Netflix because I do binge watch Netflix.
Me too.
I think there's a ton of value to yoga, to some of the meditation apps that are out there. There's a free one called Oak. There's a paid one that's really nice called Heart Math that helps you sync up your breathing to your heart rate.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of great tools out there to manage breathing, and breathing in turn controls the nervous system. It dials down that fight or flight response. It's not just in our heads, it's a physical change that we're having from that. I know you have folks across all industries, but especially for sales teams and sales leaders, I think a big part of keeping your sanity is just understanding that your identity is separate from your role. That you are a great human on the days that you are a successful salesperson, and you are still a human being with value on days that you are not successful as a salesperson. And you still have intrinsic value to your friends and your family and your community, even on days when you are not effective or successful as a manager, because it is a roller coaster ride. And I see that with entrepreneurs too, right? They're doing product launches or they're hiring new staff. They're making good hires. They're making not so good hires some of the time. Lots of lessons being learned. Really being able to realize that who you are as a person versus who you are as a professional are different.
And how do we, because this brings up an incredible question, and I know I talk about this a lot with people, is you'll get somebody that'll have a stressful day. 2 deals fell through, you haven't gotten paid by a client, or your sales team just had a rough day. They didn't make the closes they need to make. Are there ways to just turn that off or at least turn the volume down on it? So when you get home to parents or family or a significant other, it doesn't necessarily have to dominate the conversation. So there are ways to just toggle a switch or turn down the volume knob to make that easier and to give us quality time with people we love.
And the key word is quality time, because this is the entrepreneurial life. We take that stress home with us to everybody else. And that was when we were in an office. Now, if we're hybrid, we're not taking it home. We're home glowering over it while they're all here, right?
We're living it 24/7.
I think there's a physical piece, there's an emotional piece, and there's a learning piece.
Okay.
Right? The physical piece is, what are we doing with that muscle tension? Could we foam roll? Could we use a Theragun? Could we go pay for a massage? Bonus points because that forces you to leave your house. And of course, there are folks like us that make massage house calls, but assuming these people are anywhere in the country. So being able to physically let go of some of that stress. Acupuncture is amazing in terms of the muscle tension that people have in their neck, their shoulders, right? People think the mind-body connection is woo. I'm like, no, it's a literal, visible, tangible thing. Watch somebody who's been on 20 cold calls where people hung up on them and look at their shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me you can see it.
Yeah. Yep, you're right.
So, massage, acupuncture, Theraguns, all that stuff, just letting it go out of the body. Another huge thing is journaling. Right now, I'm going to keep a diary. Wins, lessons learned. What could have been better? What did you want your team to learn? Were they listening? If they weren't listening, did you really communicate it clearly? Or was it really just because they weren't listening? You could be typing a journal. You could be handwriting it. And just getting some input from other people who've been there. It's amazing. In this day and age, coaching has been around for decades. There's still entrepreneurs that don't have an executive coach.
Yeah, I know.
Or they've got to pitch and present and they've never hired a public speaking coach.
Yep.
Finding a coach who's been in your shoes is the best money you will ever spend. And we don't do any business coaching at all. We just do wellness coaching. But I'm just telling you, looking back at the best money I have ever spent.
Yeah.
Different kinds of coaches. And is part of the stress stuff that you can't control. Folks that hang up on you, employees that were out. But is part of the stress coming from stuff that could get solved by systems? Right? Have you
good point.
really documented standard operating procedures? And if not, maybe get somebody to help you with that instead of trying to DIY that.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you did document it and your team isn't following it, maybe you did this a couple years ago. Do they even remember what the SOPs are? Or if you're a sales leader, you created talk tracks and then you ride along with reps and then they're not actually delivering those talk tracks.
Yeah.
You don't need to yell at them. It's supportive. It's encouraging. You got role play. You got practice with that. If they're not role play, why is that happening? So I think a lot of stress comes from trying to come up with a brand new solution every time versus having a set process that you know works.
So it sounds like you're almost advocating for a routine. Pick things that work for you, do it on a regular basis, and make that part of your day.
Absolutely. And I think that's for both wellness and business, right? How many people are trying to hit their correct calories or their correct macros and they're trying to come up with brand new things every day? I'm like, if you have 2 or 3 breakfasts that you like, you could just alternate those.
Yeah.
We don't need a cooking degree here.
So let's touch on that since you just opened that door. Let's touch on the nutrition side. So like you, Lisa, we're all sitting at our desk all day trying to generate business. And sometimes you look at the clock and it's 10 a.m. Then you look again and it's 3 p.m. and you think, miss lunch again for the 232nd consecutive day. So any tips on making that more of a priority for us? So the blood sugar stays level, we get protein intake.
Yes. I think that if people are doing it intentionally with a plan, for some people, not everybody, stuff like intermittent fasting can be a good strategy. But there's a ton of people who just aren't eating during the day and then they're eating a ton of junk food at night because they're starving. It's not because they're trying to fit into a specific eating window or any kind of strategy. It's just because they're stuck at their desk. So if that's what's happening, don't kid yourself that this is an awesome fasting protocol.
Damn it.
Think about what would make it the easiest for you. If you have a desk drawer full of candy bars, could you throw some protein bars in there?
Good point.
If you are ordering a bunch of greasy takeout, could you go an app like Yelp or an app like Happy Cow, which is amazing, it has all kinds of healthy restaurants. Could you look that up and find some healthy restaurants in your area that deliver? And could you save that to Seamless or whatever app you're using? So that you could just put that stuff on repeat.
Another good idea.
I love to cook. A lot of our clients hate to cook.
So we can come to your house.
Absolutely. But if you're the person that hates to cook, doesn't know how to cook, doesn't want to learn how to cook, maybe it's a meal delivery thing. Maybe it's like Purple Carrot or Cook Unity, where like they're not all healthy meals, but you can pick the healthy meals and put that on repeat and get that stuff delivered. There are people that love to meal prep. There's people that hate to meal prep. I'm not a fan of a 7-day meal prep. I don't want to eat stuff that was cooked 7 days ago. 2 or 3 days of meal prep is super easy, right?
Yeah.
You put a bunch of soup ingredients in a crock pot or in a pressure cooker. You just put it in different bowls in your fridge. Then it's lunch. All you got to do is...
So it sounds like we could take a day out of the week, like maybe a Sunday afternoon, take half an hour, 45 minutes, prep a bunch of stuff, put it in the fridge so that you're prepared for your Monday through Friday.
Yeah, or even Monday through Wednesday. If you had homemade meals Monday to Wednesday and you ordered healthy takeout the last couple days, that would still be better than just eating M&Ms for 5 days.
Looks like I'm wrong about that too. But they
Nothing
have
wrong with-
peanut.
Again, it's like, you got to think about all these activities, and it's nothing you're really right or wrong. Think, is this adding or subtracting stress from my life?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about a client that we have, a business owner, and like he loves doing a couple days of meal prep because it's something he can do with his kids. But he's trying to think of fun things to do with them anyway.
Right.
Versus a different leader that I'm thinking about that we coached. He's never cooked a day in his life. He doesn't know how to turn on his stove. I'm unclear if the gas to his stove is still connected. We're not doing meal prep. Like, you live near a Whole Foods, let's get some veggies off the salad bar. And if you're the person that's meal prep is making my brain explode, maybe you'll get there someday, but it's okay that you're not there today.
Yeah. I think when we look at these things, Lisa, at least when I used to look at these things a long time ago, was I looked at them as a hassle and impossible to maintain. And there was a time where I would set my alarm to get up and work out and wouldn't. And I thought, I'd rather sleep. And now my body just gets me up at 6 a.m. I don't even need to set an alarm. And if I even think of sleeping in, my body's, oh no, you're not doing that. So it's amazing how you can switch your brain into a different gear just by doing something consecutively a few times and making it a habit.
Yeah, there's a wonderful book about that internal biological clock called The Power of When. And he sifts people into the early birds are like the lions, the mid-morning people are the bears, the night owls are the wolves. And he has this whole analysis of not just how that affects your schedule, but the biology of it's really tremendous. But that's a great example of you're working with your body instead of trying to fight it. And most entrepreneurs, execs that I talk, the number one reason they're still working out is stress management.
It helps a
Not
lot.
weight loss, even though a lot of them have lost weight. It's not pain management, even though a lot of them have massively reduced back pain, neck pain by stretching, by getting moving.
Yeah.
It's getting out of their head and into their body. What have you heard from leaders about that? How do they?
It's the same thing. Some people walk, some people run. I know a particular consultant right off the top of my head. If I don't get up and run, I am so hard on myself that I just get up and run so I don't beat myself up the rest of the day later. So yeah, I know leaders that do this, but then I know leaders who are like, tomorrow, next week, January 1st, I made myself a promise in 2026 it's going to happen. And I know it's not going to.
Honestly, I think my favorite quote from the whole year was from a very well-known fitness coach, Danny Taylor. And she said, goals don't fail because the goal is too big. Goals fail because the support system is too small.
That's interesting. So tell me a little bit about that.
And it sounds obvious, but it really hit me because pro athletes have a coach. Professional speakers have a coach. Authors have an editor and a whole team. And the most successful people in any industry are paying for coaching.
That's very
Not
true.
just paying money, but they're putting time and effort and attention into that. And then we take someone who has a 14-hour workday and we say, they don't need a coach. They should just suck it up and meal prep.
A little bit of a tough love line of thinking.
Like, why would you spend X dollars on the executive coach and the sales trainer and then you don't have a fitness coach or you don't have a nutrition coach? Like, it's not that you can't do it on your own. You can, but you're making it way harder. Why do you want to make it harder to do? So part of that support system is coaching. Part of it is, I can't tell you the amount of leaders that don't tell their friends about their health goals. If you had a goal to launch your book, or you had a goal, obviously this podcast is already a hit, but if you were launching a brand new podcast and had no audience, you would tell everyone you know on LinkedIn, or all your friends, or all your employees, because you would want them to support your goal of having people listen to your podcast. So if you want to take a walk every day, why wouldn't you tell your friends? Maybe they're local and they want to walk with you. Maybe they're across the country and they want to text you that they did it and you did it. It doesn't have to be about paying for a trainer or paying for a coach, although that really makes it easier. And different people in your life can support you in different ways. I know you know DISC and all of the different personality systems very well, right? If you have a friend who's very assertive and goal-oriented and bottom line on top, that's the person that might be a great accountability buddy. Or if you really struggle with the details because you are a big picture visionary leader, maybe one of those friends who's a little more introverted, a little more detail oriented could help you read those ingredient labels or figure out those macros.
Good point.
You can't figure it out. It's that you're going to get really bored and frustrated.
Yeah.
They won't feel like you're bothering them. They think that's fun.
Yeah. You're right. Asking somebody for advice or for their help usually does get a good response.
And one thing a huge nutrition mistake I see across the board with different goals and different diets is people don't like to try new stuff.
Yep.
Right? They've been eating the same burger and the same fries forever. And realistically, if they're going to get better, it's not just about eating less of the junk food that they're eating. It's about adding new things. Right?
Yep.
What that animal proteins like Greek yogurt, what that's plant proteins like plant protein powder that could be really delicious and be super easy to implement. If you're the person that hates new stuff, there's probably somebody in your circle of friends, somebody in your company that has a DISC, that I personality, right? They're outgoing, they're bubbly, they're kooky, they're crazy. They love trying new stuff. They love making other people try new stuff.
Yeah.
And even though you might hate them in the short term, they could add so much to your fitness journey because maybe you're like, okay, I know I can't just, I can still keep a couple candy bars, but I can't only have candy bars in my desk. I'm going to try a protein bar. If you're the person that hates new things and you try one protein bar and you hate it, you'll never try again.
Oh, for sure.
If you go with that fun, bubbly, crazy friend who loves new products and they try 10 different bars with you and you hate all but one, guess what? You don't have to try new products every day for the rest of your life. You found the one protein bar that you like, right? Maybe it's Aloha bars, maybe it's no cow bars, like something that's like not a lot of sugar, not a lot of ingredients. So you buy those, you stick them in your desk, you're like, have a new routine. So now it's not, ew, it's a new product. It's, oh, these are the same bars that are in here every day.
Makes a lot of sense. I love it. So, Lisa, my guess would be you hear a lot of myths that keep people from actually becoming better or taking care of their wellness. Share with us like a couple of myths that I'm positive some of our audience probably has that you'd love to just derail.
My gosh, so many.
I know. There's probably 300 that you have. Just pick a couple.
Let's do one fitness one nutrition
Sure.
one, and maybe one for the team, right?
Okay, sure.
So the fitness side, I think a huge barrier for people who are beginners is going to the gym and feeling like other people are judging them.
Oh, that's a good one.
Maybe they feel like they're not in shape or don't look good, or maybe they feel like they don't know what they're doing. I will promise you, 0 people at the gym care what you're doing. They are not laughing at you. They don't think you're dumb. They don't think you're out of shape. They are listening to their headphones. They do not know you exist. And if you still feel like that's terrifying, it's okay to feel your feelings, but also go to 2 or 3 different gyms and watch how people completely ignore you. It's okay to be a beginner. But people that now know how to lift weights or now know how to do yoga, they were beginners at one point. And
True.
really think about the lowest barrier to entry. If trying to get on the subway or get in the car, drive to the gym, work out there, shower there, come back is way too much time, then maybe just buying a really high-end yoga mat or some adjustable dumbbells and setting up your little home workout space removes that friction. If you're 100% remote and you're like, I need reasons to leave my house, maybe the home gym is the backup plan, but maybe the real plan needs to be something that you could only do out of your house, like tennis or a pickleball or going to a pool and swimming, or going and taking a kickboxing class where you're interacting with other people because you're home alone all day,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So it's not about, does this workout burn the most calories? It's, does this fit into your schedule and does it fit into your goals? Not like your weight loss goal, but your goal for, do I want to spend more time at home with my kids? Do I want to get out of my 400 square foot apartment?
Yeah.
I'd say myth 1 is people are judging me at the gym. They don't care. They really don't.
Okay. So the bottom line of that is everybody's ignoring you. Just go to it.
It's accepting where you are and moving forward from there.
Got it.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Not everyone at the gym needs to think you're a pro athlete. Okay.
All right. Myth number 2.
Oh, I think the most underutilized tool on the nutrition side is finding ways to sneak in plant proteins. Because most
Okay.
people already know how to implement grilled chicken or Greek yogurt or other animal proteins.
Yep.
And plant proteins have 0 cholesterol. A lot of them have fiber. You have really nice amino acid profiles on a lot of these things. So if you're the person that's like struggling to hit a protein goal and you're like, I can't get down, having something like a protein cereal is a really nice idea, or being able to put a scoop of plant protein powder into a fruit smoothie, or being able to throw like some veggie chicken into a stir fry. These are things that are idiot proof, right? They take 30 seconds or less, and they're ways of hiding those high protein and high fiber foods in other things,
Gotcha.
right? No one wants to feel like the only thing they can ever eat again in their life is chicken and broccoli, but there's so many other plant proteins that you could add to a diet, even for an omnivore, right? On the team side, I think the biggest myth is the leader who's, my employees don't want to work out together. Like, I want them to exercise. I want them to be fit. I want them to be healthy. But if we roll this out, no one's going to attend. And in reality, in every company, there are people that are already super fit and super motivated about fitness. There are people that maybe haven't been to a gym in 20 or 30 years. But you're not asking these people to run the marathon. You're asking these people to take 25 or 30 minutes once a week to stretch in a chair. And even if you have employees that you are convinced hate gyms, hate trainers, hate exercise, if you told them that they had a 30-minute break that their boss was approving of,
Oh, good
how
point.
many people will say no to that?
Yeah.
Some
No, that's a great point. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Because you're not going to get every employee every week. Some people are going to have fires to put out with clients. They're going to be
Yep.
on call. You don't want to make it mandatory. You don't want to disrupt their day. But if you give people permission for self-care, a lot of them will take you up on it.
It's a great point. Lisa, the time is up. It's just flown here. So before we go, I'd like to talk a little bit about your services. So what do you offer as part of your company? How do you help people? And what would you offer something like a solopreneur or a small company? Talk a little bit about what you do and why people would hire you.
Thank you. On the individual side, if you are the person that is at your desk 10 or 12 or 14 hours a day, and you're going to keep doing that for a while because that's what needs to happen based on your job and your company, can you add some things to take care of yourself? Maybe that's something in person, like finding a local massage therapist or local acupuncturist. Maybe it's working with folks like us to do some coaching either in person here in New York City or online. So we do in person, we do massage therapy, both in person and on Zoom. We do one-on-one yoga. We do one-on-one personal training, one-on-one nutrition coaching, just to help you get back on track with all of your goals and help you manage the stress of being at your desk potentially for 14 hours. For teams, we do a lot of lunch and learns. There's a lecture component, but I would say it's more workshop style. There's a lot of group discussion and group brainstorming and breakouts. So they're going to get some health education about whatever the topic is. Hot topic these days is just better communication and better questions to ask with their doctors. I feel like every team struggles with that.
I could see the benefit of that.
So a lot of lectures and workshops that we could do with your whole team, unlimited participants. And if you have a team that back when they were in person loved doing stuff together, maybe there was a company softball team where they got together for a charity run and they miss spending time together and miss maybe doing a little suffering together, we can add in some group classes, anything from strength to cardio to chair yoga. It's very beginner friendly. If you have employees in their 20s, employees in their 40s, employees in their 60s, they could all be doing that together. They do not need to be athletes. They just need to have a chair and a Zoom screen and little willingness to get comfortable with people again.
Lisa, I have to say, I don't know anybody who doesn't need some form of wellness. We all go through so much stress. We rarely take care of ourselves. And I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm just saying there are a lot of areas in my life where I don't take care of myself. And I could really use services like this. Lisa, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you? What's the best way to get a consult?
Yes, especially for your listeners, always happy to do a complimentary consult.
Thank you.
I'm very active on LinkedIn. The website is On the Mend Wellness. And
we'll put that in the speaker notes.
I just think the ROI on taking care of yourself is massive.
Yeah, it's funny. We just did a podcast not long ago about just things that we know are necessary, but we don't do for whatever reason. And we talked about exercise, that there's no doubt that exercise is absolutely the way to longevity and healthfulness and feeling better and sleeping better. And yet we all go, I don't think so. So we need people like you, Lisa, and we're glad you're out there. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Thanks for checking out Own the Room with Jake Stahl. If you've gotten value from this episode, share it with the solopreneur in your life who wants to know how to communicate to be seen, heard, and respected. Review and rate the show wherever you check out podcasts. And grab your copy of Own the Room, How to Communicate to be Seen, Heard, and Respected. We'll catch you next week on Own the Room.